Hello everyone, it's Rachel, and today I wanted to tell you how I met my boyfriend and how we started dating. So, we met originally back in May, and I was interning for a community theater for their summer production, so I had to be at auditions to help things run. I helped hand out audition forms, take the audition headshots, and help run groups back and forth for vocal and dance. And I sat in and watched the whole process and got to talk to the directors, and it was fun. And he auditioned and briefly spoke because the stage manager, I was the production assistant slash intern slash props designer slash running crew. Lots of things. So the stage manager, I worked very closely with him, and he was at the auditions too, and he's really good friends with Zach. And so he came up and he was talking, and he does a lot of shows there. He's pretty well known in that theater. And so they were talking and they were getting to know whatever, and I remember watching him audition and doing the dance audition, and I was very surprised because a lot of the adults, some of the adults were really good. They were like killing the dance, but a lot of the adults weren't doing as well. And I don't know any of these people, so I'm just watching the auditions, and it was fun. It was a fun dance, and cheering everyone on. Some people were a little bit more nervous than others, and whatever auditions. And I remember being really impressed by how well he was doing at the dance audition. And then I got to hear them all sing. And he had a really great voice, and he was interested in the barbershop quartet that's in Music Man was the show we were doing. So then at callbacks, he was there, and I had to attempt to try to play all the voice parts on the piano because the director was also filling in voice parts in the audition, and he ended up actually being one of the people in there. And Zach got cast as one of the people in the barbershop quartet. And yeah, so rehearsals are going on, whatever. We're like kind of talking a little bit because I was getting closer to the stage manager, and obviously we were hanging out a lot because we were on the same production team and we were sitting next to each other, and I was as much the director's assistant as I was the stage manager's assistant. I just kind of did whatever needed to be done. So we sat next to each other so that we could like pass on notes, and there were times where we were both in charge of trying to figure things out, so we would talk, and I had to record things so we could post it so that people could review. There was a lot that was going on. I was busy. So he would be talking too, and since I was part of the cleanup and one of the last people out, usually, not always, usually, clean up whatever, Zach would hang out and talk to the stage manager because they were good buddies. And I noticed that there'd be times that Zach would come up to me and he would like talk to me during rehearsal, like before or after, because he got there really early usually, and he would like leave the same time I was, and we'd like be walking out to our cars at the same time. I'd be like, it's a little suspicious, but whatever. And then he friended me on Facebook, and we started messaging like when we would get home, talking a little bit before we went to sleep, just making sure like, hey, I got home all right and whatever. And then when we moved into the space, he would come early and he'd help like clean up, and then he'd help set up, and then he'd help like clean things up at the end. And I knew something was up based on how we were talking. And one day, when we didn't have rehearsal, it was an off day, he messaged me. He didn't text me, he messaged me, and he was like, hey, would you want to go get dinner with me sometime? And I was like, I guess, yeah, sure. And he was like, how about tonight? And I was like, I can't do tonight. And then we were just trying to find a date that worked for both of us, because we were obviously both busy. We were getting in with the show and things were rolling and whatnot. So dinner had to be pushed off the table, and he would walk out with me and the stage manager at the end, and they would talk for a while, and I'd be there talking too, hanging out. And then Zach and I would hang out, and we would talk for a little bit afterwards before we'd get in our car. And it's summer, so it's nice outside. We're not like standing out in the cold, whatever, we're fine. And he said, hey, how about we do a coffee date instead? I noticed that you drink a lot of iced coffee. Your iced coffee's on me. So we planned an iced coffee date. And then during the week, before our date, I was messaging him at work or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting a lunch break again, because the month of July was crazy for me at work because we were down a person, so I was picking up her shifts, and I was working probably close to 50 hours a week consistently, and most of the time not getting a lunch break. So there was a lot going on, and I wasn't taking the best care of myself, because there were days that I would go to work, I'd work, and then I'd go straight from work to the theater and start working on stuff and getting things set up, or I'd go from work to the home theater and sort through their prop stuff, or I'd come home, or I'd go shopping and like trying to get all that stuff together, and it was crazy. So just working on all that stuff. And he had messaged me, and he said, hey, do you want me to bring you lunch? Because I think it was a dress rehearsal night, I think. And yeah, it was dress rehearsal night. And so I didn't message him because I was at work, I was busy. And so he said, oh, too late, I already did it. So he went, oh, hush. So he went shopping for me on his lunch break, and put together, he called it a production, what did he call it? A production assistant care package, where it was a cup of microwavable soup, a yogurt, I think there was some like fruit or something. There were quite a few elements, and he bought me a 4-pack of the iced coffee frappuccino Starbucks thing, the bottles, and put them in, and oh my goodness, what do you want? So he put that together for me, and I was able to grab it quickly. I was very busy. And then finally, we were still talking, you know, mind you, and then our date came, and my car decided that it didn't want to work. So my dad dropped it off at the shop so that I would be able to still be free. So my car was in the shop, and it was our double performance day. There's one day during the summer where you do a matinee and an evening performance, and it was that day. We went out that morning, and so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to cancel again. Is there any way you would mind picking me up, because my car is just out of order? So he came and he picked me up, and we went to a local coffee shop that was downtown, just a couple minutes away from the theater where we needed to be. So he picked me up, and we went, and I had coffee. He's not a coffee drinker, but I am. And so we had our date, and yeah, we talked, got to know each other. We were staying a little bit too long. Finally, I was like, oh man, I'm so late. I really gotta go and help set up. I'm late. I'm very late. Late, we need to go. And then he went, and it was a big thing. The stage manager was kind of like teasing us about it, and yeah, so he was like, oh, I understand. I said, I'm sorry, I would have left on time, but I don't have my car. I had to wait for Zach. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize you didn't have your car. I said, no, I don't have my car. So then from there, we would hang out. We met up at the park. I think it was our second date. We met up at the park, and a park right by his old apartment. He moved, and walked around for a long time, and we were getting to know each other a little bit more. And then he cooked for me another time. Then we went to the fair. And during this time, before we went to the fair, I was texting like, hey, where, like, what do I tell people? Like, where are we at? Now, this was after we had closed the show. Because it was just for one weekend, 4 performances done. And we're still talking, you know, whatever. And I said, hey, where are we? And he said, well, I'm not ready to fully commit yet. It was something along those lines. We're still dating. I still would like to know more about you. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So we're still dating at this point. It's not official. So we're dating. And then I asked him to go to the fair because REO Speedwagon was performing, and I love REO Speedwagon. And I missed them the last time I came to the fair, and I wanted to hear them. And he likes REO Speedwagon as well, so I asked him to go to the fair with me. I got in free at this time, and I still do this year if the fair is still on. And I was talking, you know, we're hanging out, he picked me up, we went, and I didn't know what I wanted to eat because sometimes I feel really sick after I eat, so I have to be really careful what I eat, especially like grease, and be sure, and especially in the heat, and be sure that I'm able to be fine for the duration that we were going to be there, because we got there in the evening because he had to work. But we were there for 4 or 5 hours, whatever, so we had a good time. We're walking around forever, and I just can't decide what I want. I don't know what sounds good. I didn't want to go up to a booth by myself and order food because, I don't know, I was self-conscious at the time. I'm not anymore, but I was at the time. And so we're walking around forever, and I still haven't eaten, and he found something he wanted to try. And he thought he was being slick, but I caught on. And he ordered something. He's like, I'm gonna call this the my girlfriend says she isn't hungry special, and he like ordered extra food so that I would eat, and I like nibbled on it, whatever, and I had a water bottle, and he thought I didn't catch that little slip because we hadn't discussed it, and he hadn't called me that before, but I didn't react at all, and I just like, oh yeah, whatever, and just went on with it. And then we went on with the date. We're walking around, and it took me, we were walking for like 2.5 hours, and then I finally settled on a corn dog, and he still makes fun of me for that occasionally. He thought it was ridiculous that I walked around for 2 hours and then decided on a corn dog, but whatever. You can make fun of me too if you want. And so eat my corn dog, whatever, life is good. And we're walking around, we're having fun, we're looking at stuff. It's a fun time, and then we go to leave because the fair's closing. So we go to leave, and we're in the car, and we're waiting in the line of traffic to leave, because when you wait until it closes, or until, right, I think we left, it was like 15 minutes before it closed, and there's a line of traffic at that point because the concert was done. And I made him wait a little bit until after the concert was done because traffic, but it was still bad. So we left, and we're sitting in the car, and he goes, so did you catch what I said? And I said, oh, I caught it. And then we talked about it for a while, and we decided to make it official. So actually next week will be our, well, I'm not good at math at all, you guys. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Our 9-month. Will be our 9-month anniversary. That's what I thought. Our 9-month anniversary. Yeah. So things are good. It's really hard right now because we are in self-isolation. We're not able to see each other in person because we don't live together. And he still deals with the public, and I am not leaving my house until the order is lifted. I'm trying to do my part and stay at home. So there's that. We've been doing virtual. We did a virtual movie night, and we're gonna try to do another one tomorrow or Sunday, and if we can't do it then maybe Monday. But you know, it's hard right now because it's been a while. We saw each other right before the stay-at-home order went in our state, and yeah. So we're pushing through, hoping for the best. And yeah, if you don't know Zach, don't know what I'm talking about, you can find him in my decorating gingerbread houses competition video that we did back in December. He's in there, and you can also find him at all of his social medias. Go and support him. Go follow him on his Twitch. He has all of his information there. He's also a part of a podcast. He does a few D&D streaming groups, so he has all the information. I think at the end of the gingerbread house decorating video. So go find him. Go send him some support. Send him some love. He's awesome. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about our relationship or want to know more, I was hoping to be able to do this video with him, get his perspective as well. If not, but if you have any questions, comment them down below, and or send them to me anyway. I have a Twitter. It's at _sRachel, RACHEL. So go ask me questions over there. And if I get questions, then maybe I'll do a follow-up Q&A video. And that goes for anything. If you have any questions in general, let me know, and I'll do a Q&A. And if not, then that's cool. I won't do a Q&A. And but yeah, if you have any questions about this, follow-up questions, if I didn't explain anything thoroughly enough, let me know. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in another one. Bye.